What is going on, everybody? My name is John Solo, and welcome to the very first episode of Comment Commentary, a name I've shamelessly chosen to plagiarize from Philly D's SourceFed because frankly, it's perfect and they're not using it anymore. For those wondering, Comment Commentary is a series, or rather will become a series if you guys like it, where I respond to comments you wonderful people have left on a variety of my videos. It's kind of like an AMA, but instead of just answering questions, I'll also be responding to criticisms, comments from trolls, insightful analyses of stories, and more. Now before we get started, I feel like I should acknowledge how lucky I am that the majority of our community seems to consist of positive people who just love a good story. I receive a ton of wholesome comments from you guys that are just filled with kind words and encouragement. That being said, I am very awkward at receiving compliments, and I'm also not making this video just to flex how smart, handsome, funny, creative, hardworking, and great smelling everyone thinks I am. So if at any point you notice the comments I'm choosing to respond to are leaning towards the negative, don't mistake that for being representative of the Solo fam. I'm just a bit of a masochist. However, I did filter out any of the really toxic ones because anyone choosing to spend their limited time on this planet spreading negativity through YouTube comments is a fucking loser and they don't deserve the spotlight. I just block those tweets and it's very satisfying when I do it. Anyway, let's dive in, shall we? One thing that was really nice was that on my most recent video about John Henry, I received a ton of really kind compliments saying thank you so much for covering this story, thank you for showing the amount of respect that you did a great job, etc, etc. And again, I don't bring that up just to flex, but objectively I must have done a really good job because even this guy Frederick said, I don't like you, but I appreciate the sensitivity you brought to this f***ed up story. Or I'm sorry, he didn't say f***ed up, he said farted up, or something along those lines, because there's definitely not a T in the F word. I've used it a lot, I would know. And to Frederick I would say, thank you so much for watching, but I don't like you either. And you best watch yourself, because I've got the death sentence on 12 systems. Dude, after you explained the movie, I was about to exit out because I thought it was over. I completely forgot you were supposed to tell the real story behind it now. I got that comment on my Anastasia video, which I rewatched, and I have to say that recap of the movie that I did was actually really, really long. I know that a lot of people don't like the recaps and just end up skipping over them, but the reason I include them is because I think you get so much more out of the story when you are familiar with the movie. Like, it's not just a summary of the movie. In addition to the summary, I also make a point to touch on all of the individual aspects that you can connect to the story that you're about to hear after the recap. Because that way you can infer some of the connections yourself instead of forcing me to break it down every single time we get to one. Now don't get me wrong, that is the point of these videos, and I would be happy to go into as much detail as necessary to make sure that every single person watching catches every single connection. It's just that when I'm telling the original story, I'm building up momentum and creating a sort of atmosphere, or at least I would like to think so. And I don't want to disrupt that over and over again by going back to the movie and saying, did you notice this connection? Did you notice this connection? Just try to remember for future reference that I always try to make the recaps as short and concise as possible, and if at any point you start finding yourself thinking, why is he going into such great detail about this seemingly insignificant thing? There's probably a reason for it connected to the original story. I'm not one of those YouTubers who tries to make sure every single video is 10 minutes long so I can sprinkle it with mid-roll ads. Bro, the whole thing with the clothes makes perfect sense. Why eat clothes when you can get your stupid victim to take them off first? It's like the chicken that debones itself. Someone left that on my video about Little Red Riding Hood because in that story the big bad wolf tells Little Red Riding Hood to take off all of her clothes before she lays in bed with him. And in that video I point out how creepy of a fucking detail that was. And I guess this guy was explaining how, while creepy, it actually makes sense. And I do have to agree with him. I would have actually preferred if the film was a lot more like the book. This is one where I don't have to tell you what video it was commented on because I received this kind of comment on literally every single messed up Origins video that I put up. And to be totally honest, a lot of the time I agree. I'll kiss you if you have a child and name it Ben or Han and keeps your last name. I think I'm good. Now for this next one, I received a lot of comments like it on my tier list video. I think that Belle's dad was deserving of S rank, because saying he isn't as good a parent as he could be for being fat is just dumb. We don't actually know why he's fat. For all we know, it could be because of a thyroid issue, or depression, or something else that could get you plus-sized. I truly found it hilarious how many people were upset with me for fat-shaming a fictional cartoon character. For context, and also for clarification, I never actually said that Maurice was fat, I just said it was obvious he loved carbs and being sedentary and wasn't taking care of himself. Everyone just inferred what I meant from that and just got very upset with me. I mean, yeah, I was inferring that him being fat made him a worse parent, but that entire video is pretty riddled with sarcasm. And just to be clear, I don't care if Maurice had a thyroid issue, or he was depressed, or he just loved carbs, which he no doubt did because he was living in France and like the 1600s or whenever that story takes place. All that being said, you're just making excuses for him. You're being an enabler for somebody who has a life-threatening disease. If I had knocked Maurice down a rank because he smoked cigarettes and those were unhealthy as opposed to just loving carbs, would you be as upset with me? Another tier list comment: if that known as Buck from that piece of garbage fire known as Chicken Little was on here, I think I know where he'd rank. Rock bottom at F, if not worse. Sounds like you've got a lot of strong feelings about the Chicken Little movie, man. Is there anything you need to get off your chest? I think the funniest part about this is that his AVI is like a 10-year-old child. So that means it's either the kid commenting or it's his dad with him as his profile picture. And I don't know which I would rather it be. I hope anyone scrolling through the comments has an amazing day. And remember, you are kind and beautiful, and never forget it. Shut up, nerd. Oh my god, I just noticed that you have a tattoo. Never noticed that. Yeah, the reason you never noticed it is because it's new. I am kind of surprised at how many people commented saying, has he always had that tattoo? Like, no, I wear graphic tees in 90% of my videos. When have you ever seen this tattoo before? For those curious, because I haven't shown it off in a video just yet, just on my YouTube story and then the Patreon podcast, this is what it looks like. It's the treehouse from Adventure Time, and there's a couple of reasons why I got it. One, because obviously I love Adventure Time. It's one of my favorite cartoons, if not my favorite cartoon of all time. Also, the first network I joined on YouTube was Frederator, and Frederator Studios produced Adventure Time, so I've always felt a little bit of a connection with it, even though there really isn't one. I also think the genius of making Finn and Jake live in a treehouse in the show cannot be underestimated, because it's like, if you were a kid who was 9 years old and living completely on your own with your dog, what kind of house would you want to live in? A treehouse, 100%, right? Like, who doesn't want a treehouse? So that's kind of my last reason for getting it. In my heart and mind, there seems to be some archetypal significance of the treehouse. Every kid on the planet dreams of having a treehouse. I mean, there's some who just dream of having a roof over their head and clean water and food in their bellies, but the privileged kids, of all the privileged kids, they all dream of having tree houses. Anyway, moving beyond that, because we spent way too much time talking about it, somebody commented on my Princess and the Pea video saying, I'm guessing the sensitivity is actually from hemophilia, aka the royal disease, aka the bleeding genetic disorder in a kid born from sex with a close relative. This is one of those points where it was commented immediately after I uploaded the video, and I was super frustrated with myself for not thinking about it during the writing process. Like, I'm actually really proud of that Princess and the Pea video. It got quite a few views when I first uploaded it, and even when I watch it nowadays, I can see why people enjoyed it so much. But the annoying thing about it is there's always something. I always forget to include something in a video, and it's really frustrating when it ends up being something obvious like hemophilia. Like, a lot of people commented saying, I think that royals being sensitive had something to do with hemophilia, which a lot of royals back in the day had because they just mated with their family. Like, how did I not realize that? I spent 2 or 3 weeks researching that story. I took it all the way back to ancient Greece, and I still didn't think to mention hemophilia. So annoying. Your ass smell like shit. Does yours not? When are we going to see the Swan Princess? I've been waiting for literally almost a year to see that video. Listen, there are a lot of stories that people request all of the time that I want to cover that I simply haven't yet, just because I don't have the time. The Swan Princess is one of these stories. I originally planned on covering it back in December, and then I found that the origins were significantly more complicated than a lot of the other fairy tales that I've covered, and if you've watched my other videos, that's really saying something. If there's any myths or fables that you see suggested regularly that you're wondering why I haven't covered them yet because there's so much demand for them, chances are the reason is because the original story is way complicated and I just need a little more time to cover it than I normally do. And actually, for the first time ever, I'm gonna reveal to you guys part of the list of stories that I plan on covering in the future. The Swan Princess, Moana, The Black Cauldron, Mary Poppins, Atlantis, The Elves and the Shoemaker, Baba Yaga, The Little Match Girl, basically every part of Greek mythology that you can imagine. Then I've also got some notebooks for series that don't exist just yet, but will sometime in the future. Give this a thumbs up. Speak English. You said elements instead elephant. Type English, you swine. It bothers me how he says beldam. Believe me, Kaiser, you are not the only one who feels that way. To this day, I am incredibly annoyed at myself that in my first part of the Coraline video, I called the antagonist the Bedlam instead of the Beldam. You would think that at least one of those geniuses correct commenting me would notice that the pinned comment at the top of the comment section is me correcting my mistake and saying that I would fix it in part 2, but nah. They're all very excited to prove how much smarter than me they are. That guy has 2 million views on his video about Coraline and he doesn't even know that it's pronounced Beldam instead of Bedlam. What is he, an idiot? I realize that I'm coming off pretty salty. It's just that when I look at the comment section, it's always very frustrating for me when I don't see people talking about the story and the wealth of information I included in the video, but instead the one mistake that I made. Take a chillaxative, and not only that, take a 5-second gander at the rest of the comments in the comment section and notice how many other people have corrected me and how unnecessary your correction is. Speaking of salty actually, Aphrodite is so salty, but that's not a surprise seeing as she came from Seafoam. Now get out. With hair made of poison snakes. Unless the snakes of a Gorgon can only kill you if you eat them, I believe you meant venomous. Shut up, nerd. Moving on, I got this one really insightful comment about the Little Mermaid that I thought would be nice to share, just to mix it up a bit and show appreciation for the people who leave well thought out comments instead of making the same correction that 200 other people have made. There needs to be a movie of this. The original is beautiful, dark, sad, and hopeful. Instead of it just being some young woman having the hots for a guy and willing to throw her entire world and family away for a life she doesn't even know, she wants to become a human so she can have a freaking soul and get into heaven. It doesn't get much deeper than that. It wasn't some selfish crush that would end in danger to her family, but because she didn't want her eternal existence to be destroyed. I couldn't agree more. I do think that for the most part, Disney movies really do exemplify a good set of morals and values for their audience, but for whatever reason, I do feel like these older stories have morals and values that resonate deeper within us. Dear John Solo, my name is Nathan. I just recently found your channel. Your videos are so interesting, especially the ones about the true origin behind fairy tales and the Greek mythology explained. I just wanted to thank you for your existence because I've learned so much from your videos and also say hello to your newest subscriber. What's up, Nathan? Thank you so much for commenting that, man. I really appreciate you saying that. It means a lot to me that I'm able to foster interest and knowledge for you, and I hope that you continue to enjoy the content for a while. Anyway, Solo fam, I think that's a pretty good note for us to end on, so let me just say thank you so much for watching, and thank you to everybody who commented, even the trolls, because even though you can get pretty annoying, thanks to your lack of manners, self-awareness, and intelligence, I was able to make some new content and make some money off of it. So I really do appreciate it, guys. Speaking of making me money, I also want to remind you guys that SoloFam merch is only going to be available for another couple of days before it goes off the shelf. I think this will be our last run of this design for a little while. I've got to say that I personally love these designs. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from the SoloFam about them, which makes me really happy. Everyone says that they fit great and are super soft and comfortable. I can also attest to that myself, but it's great to hear from the people who are buying the products because they're not as biased as I am. As mentioned before, these designs are going to be pulled off the shelf in just a couple of days, so make sure to cop them while you can. Anyway, Solo fam, it's definitely time that I wrap this up, so let me just say one more time, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and if you are, make sure you turn notifications on so you get notified every time I upload a video from now on. And of course, make sure you follow me and the sleepy nugget known as Gunther on all the social medias. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Gunther only has an Instagram. He told me he's not really interested in Facebook or Twitter, and he feels like those platforms are starting to get a little too toxic for him anyway. So yeah, make sure you follow us on those to stay updated on Messed Up Origins news, what videos are coming up next, or if you just want to say hey or throw a suggestion my way. Until next time, Solo fam, my name is John Solo, and remember, John shot first.